Hello world, my name is Victor Engelmann, and in this video I'm going to show you how to transform a MBR booted Windows machine into a UEFI booted Windows machine. I don't talk about Windows much on my channel, but we've recently talked about how to do the same thing with Linux systems, and just in case you have a dual booted machine with Windows and Linux, if you do this with Linux, it breaks your Windows booting, and this is mainly why I'm doing this, to show you how to also transform a Windows system in such a case. So this is the system I'm going to transform into an UEFI system. It is Windows 10, and it's the virtual machine image that you can use for testing, distributed by Microsoft. And this is what we are going to use now. The first thing that you need is a Windows recovery stick. And you can just plug in any USB stick. I think it needs to be 5 gigabytes or so at least. And then you can create a recovery stick yourself, like this. You go to the Start menu and you type in create recovery drive. Okay, then you start that. It prompts you for administrator rights. You say yes, and I don't have a stick connected right now, or at least it's not passed through into the virtual machine. Otherwise you would get a list here now where you could select the drive that you want to use, and the program is quite simple, so I think you will be able to get through that. I have already prepared a recovery stick, and now I will turn this machine off. And now I will plug in the recovery drive into the virtual machine. I have already prepared this. So I'm going to mass storage. This is the recovery drive. Right now it's primary slave. I will put the primary hard drive as secondary master and make the stick primary master. Okay, now if you don't know how to pass through a USB drive to a guest operating system in VirtualBox, this site on linuxbabe.com is pretty good. One important thing you need to do is you need to go to download.virtualbox.org/virtualbox. Select the version of your VirtualBox that you have, and then download this Oracle VM VirtualBox extension pack. You just download it, double click it, and then it installs itself, so that's quite easy. And you might have to restart your machine after that. And down here you have the instructions to boot from a USB stick, because even if you have pass-through, VirtualBox doesn't really support booting from a USB medium that you are passing through. So this is how you can deal with that. Okay, now let's start this virtual machine from the recovery medium. Okay, this is how that looks. First you select a keyboard layout, and then you go to troubleshooting, and then go to a command interpreter cmd. Okay. Now in here we need to check out which drives we have so that we can decide where to install the bootloader. So disk part is the program for that. And in here we have several commands that we can use. For example, we can say list disk. Okay. 60 gigabytes is, I think, the recovery stick. 40 gigabytes is the Windows system. And yeah, that makes sense because we've used the stick as a primary master and the hard drive as a secondary master. So now we can say select disk 1. Okay. So we are now working on that hard drive. And in here we can now say list partition. Okay, we have one partition. We select that partition because yeah, right now the partition fills the entire disk, and just like last time we need to make space for the UEFI bootloader. So with the command shrink desired equals 100, we shrink the disk by, or the partition by 100 megabytes. Okay, it says here disk part was able to shrink the volume by 100 megabytes. Okay, now we create a new partition. I think EFI is just a label for the partition with size 100 megabytes. Okay, it says that creating this partition is only supported on GPT hard drives. Okay, then I will exit disk part, and then we just convert this to a GPT partition first using mbr to gpt/validate. Okay, it's trying to do that on disk 0. Okay, with parameter disk :1. We use it on the hard drive. Attempting to validate, retrieving layout, validating layout, validation completed successfully. Okay, now that we have done that, we can convert it. Attempting to convert disk, retrieving layout, validating layout, trying to shrink the system partition. We already did that, but okay. Creating the EFI system partition. Oh, it does all that for us. Installing the new boot files, performing the layout conversion, migrating default boot entry. It looks like it did all that for us. Okay. That was nice of it. Then I think we can try to boot that. Okay. use the hard drive as boot medium again. No, this won't work. I could not read the boot medium, system halted. That's clear because I haven't told it to boot in UEFI mode. So system UEFI mode start. Okay, it doesn't like that again. This is similar to what we've seen in the video about Linux. It looks like, yeah, the bootloader is just not there. Okay. Then I will boot from the recovery medium again. In MBR mode. Okay, now we are back in the CMD shell. Let's look again. Disk part. List disk. Select disk 1. List partition. Okay, it has created this 100 megabyte partition here last time. So what I'm doing now is I will assign drive letters to these two partitions. So partition 1 is the system partition with the Windows system, and I will assign letter equals W, because yeah, that's the Windows system and the W stands for Windows. Now I select partition 2 and give it the letter U for UEFI. Okay. Now exit this tool. Now the two partitions have drive letters, and now we can work with them. So what we can do now is bcd boot the Windows system /s and the UEFI drive. And this reinstalls the bootloader. It says the start files were successfully created. So let's try again. Boot system in UEFI mode. Start. Okay, I don't like that. Let me boot a Linux system. So I've inserted an Endeavour OS image into the optical drive. The Windows image that you get from Microsoft doesn't have optical drives as primary boot medium, so that's why you have to set this as primary now. Okay, let's boot that now. Okay, strange, we still get the same problem. Okay, so what you can do now here is you can select one of these possible boot drives here, and let's see, I've inserted the live system as a CD-ROM drive, so this looks like the one we are looking for. Hard drive, CD-ROM. Okay, so what you can do now is you can take one of these aliases here and type that into this shell, like so the semicolon just separates multiple possible aliases for the same system. So you can use BLK7 or CD0C1. Yeah. And with a colon. Okay. Now I have selected this drive in this UEFI shell. And yeah, in here we can now select the bootloader and start that. There's our grub. Start it. Okay, let's see. Device information, GPT partition table. Here is the Windows 10 partition. Here's the boot partition. Manage flags. It has boot and ESP. That's correct. Huh. You know what? I think the problem might be that we have multiple possible boot mediums. So I will just turn this off. Okay. Okay, I'm guessing this first one here is the I'm guessing this first entry here is the partition we are looking for, because yeah, partition 1 and 2, I think. So I will use HD 0A2 colon . Okay, we have UEFI here. In UEFI we have Microsoft. And boot. So, boot manager And we are back in a running Windows system. Now, this wasn't ideal, but I think that's due to some limitations of VirtualBox. You know, on actual hardware, the BIOS will allow you to select the partition that you want to boot from. And yeah, let's see, maybe if we shut this down now. Maybe VirtualBox remembers that we've booted from that. Okay, it shows a few lines, but that doesn't look bad. Okay, it works. So, yeah, as I said, this wasn't ideal, but yeah, fine with me. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to show you today. If you liked this video, like it, share it, subscribe, and see you next time.